My younger brother stared straight at me across the polished restaurant table, his graduation cap still sitting crooked on his head like a costume he hadn't earned the right to wear yet. His smile was wide, rehearsed, and hungry. Around him, our parents beamed with that same practiced pride they always reserved for him, the golden child. The waiter had just poured champagne. The room smelled like steak, expensive perfume, and celebration. Everyone was pretending this was a night about family. Then he said it. I need $1.5 million from your trust fund for my startup. The words landed like a slap. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard him. I even blinked, waiting for laughter, for the punchline. But he didn't laugh. He leaned back, fingers interlaced, as if he were asking for the salt. I'm serious, Serena, he added, voice smooth. This is my future. My mother, Patricia, nodded immediately. It's the perfect opportunity, she said, as if she'd been waiting all night to say it. Evan has such potential. And you know how hard it is for young men to get investors these days. My father, Richard, took a slow sip of champagne, watching me carefully the way he always did when deciding whether I would be obedient or difficult. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. My trust fund, I repeated softly. The one Grandpa set up for me? Evan's smile tightened. For you, he corrected, and for the family. It's not like you earned it. Grandpa left it because he wanted all of us taken care of. That trust was for Serena's education and security, I said, forcing my voice to stay even. Patricia waved her hand dismissively. You already have a job. You're doing fine. Evan needs this more. He's building something. Evan leaned forward. It's a tech platform. I've already got a pitch deck. But real funding makes people take you seriously. I stared at him, seeing not a dreamer but a predator in a graduation gown. And why, I asked quietly, does it have to come from me? Richard finally set his glass down. Because that's your responsibility, he said calmly. Refuse, and don't call this family anymore. The air left my lungs. Around us, relatives at nearby tables pretended not to listen, but I could feel their attention like heat on my skin. My cousin Elaine's eyes flicked up from her plate. Even the waiter paused. Patricia leaned in, voice dripping with sweetness. Don't embarrass us tonight, Serena. This is Evan's day. Evan's expression hardened. Just say yes. And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't a request. It was a demand. A test of control. My hands trembled slightly beneath the table. My mind flashed back years, to the day Grandpa told me about the trust. I had been 19, sitting in his study while sunlight poured through the windows. His voice had been gentle but firm. This money isn't a gift, he'd said. It's protection. Because I've watched your parents treat you like a second thought your entire life. I'd cried then, ashamed that he'd noticed. He'd patted my hand. Promise me you'll never let anyone take your future from you. Now, across the table, Evan was trying to do exactly that. I took a slow breath. No, I said. The word was quiet, but it cracked the room open. Evan blinked. What? I said no. Patricia's face froze, then twisted. Serena? Richard's eyes narrowed. You're making a mistake. Evan's voice rose. You can't be serious. It's just money. You're selfish. The waiter backed away quickly. Elaine's mouth parted slightly. My mother's cheeks flushed with humiliation, not for me, but for herself. Patricia hissed, after everything we've done for you. You mean after everything Grandpa did, I corrected softly. That was when Evan stood up. His chair scraped harshly against the floor. He leaned over me, his voice low and venomous. You think you're better than me? I didn't flinch. I think you're not entitled to my life. Richard stood too, towering. Sit down, he warned me, like I was still a child. Patricia's voice sharpened. Do you want to ruin this family? Do you want Evan to fail? I swallowed. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely hear them. If his dream requires stealing mine, I said, then it deserves to fail. Evan's face darkened with something ugly. And then it happened so fast I barely registered it. His fist came down across the side of my face. Pain exploded. My chair tipped. My world spun. I heard Patricia gasp, not in horror, but in shock that he'd done it publicly. Richard's voice barked something, but I couldn't understand through the ringing in my ears. I hit the floor hard. The restaurant blurred above me. Tables, faces, lights. Someone screamed. Elaine stood frozen, hand over her mouth. Evan's voice was distant, furious. She's ruining everything. Richard grabbed my arm, yanking me up halfway. Get up, he hissed. Don't make a scene. My vision swam. Patricia's face hovered above me, cold. Look what you made him do. Then darkness rolled in like a tide. When I woke up, the smell of disinfectant replaced steak and champagne. The ceiling was white, the light too bright. My cheek throbbed. My head felt heavy. A nurse noticed my eyes open. "You're awake," she said gently. I swallowed painfully. "Where?" "Hospital," she replied. "You were brought in unconscious. Do you remember what happened?" Images flashed. The table, the champagne, Evan's fist. Tears burned. Before I could answer, a voice cut through the room. "She fell." My mother. Patricia stood at the foot of the bed, arms crossed. "She fell?" I croaked. Patricia's eyes were sharp. "Don't start this, Serena. People exaggerate." The restaurant was chaotic. I tried to sit up, pain stabbing. Evan hit me. Her lips tightened. He was emotional. "Graduation is stressful. And you provoked him." "Provoked?" I stared at her, incredulous. Patricia leaned closer. "If you tell anyone, you will destroy this family. Do you understand me?" My throat tightened. "He assaulted me." Richard stepped into view behind her, expression unreadable. "We'll handle it privately," he said. "No police. No drama. No drama." That was always their priority. I whispered, "Where's Evan?" Patricia's voice turned dismissive. "At home. He needs rest. This has been hard on him." "Hard on him." I laughed weakly, then winced at the pain. Patricia's eyes narrowed. "You still have a chance to fix this." I stared at her. She nodded toward my bedside table, where my purse sat. "Transfer the money. Apologize. Evan will forgive you." Forgive me. The audacity made my stomach churn. I looked at my mother and realized, with terrifying clarity, that they weren't asking because they believed I'd say yes. They were asking because they believed I couldn't say no. But Grandpa's voice echoed in my mind. "Promise me." I swallowed, forcing steadiness into my voice. "No." Patricia's face hardened. "Then you're on your own." She turned sharply and walked out. Richard followed without looking back. The door clicked shut. Silence filled the room. My body hurt, my face hurt, but the deepest pain was something else entirely. My family had chosen Evan over me so completely they were willing to rewrite reality. But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I felt something unfamiliar rise beneath the fear. Resolve. Because somewhere out there, my grandmother was still alive. And my brother had made one fatal mistake. He thought I was alone. The hospital released me the next evening with a swollen cheekbone, a mild concussion, and paperwork that felt heavier than my body. The doctor asked gentle questions about how I fell. I stared at the floor while my mother answered for me, voice smooth as polished marble. "She's always been clumsy," Patricia said with a little laugh. Clumsy. As if bruises shaped like fingerprints just happened. Noah wasn't there. No sibling comfort. No apologetic brother. Evan had vanished the moment his fist landed, leaving behind only the consequence. When I returned to my apartment, the silence was suffocating. I lived alone. Had for years, because being away from my parents was the only way to breathe. The trust fund Grandpa created after my grandfather's death had kept me stable, independent, safe. Safe, until now. My phone buzzed the moment I shut the door. "Evan. You embarrassed me. Fix it." Another message followed before I could even process the first. "Evan. Transfer the money by Friday." I'm not asking again. Not asking. My fingers trembled, but not with fear this time. With anger. I didn't respond. I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode. Instead, I opened my laptop. I logged into the trust account portal. For years, I'd never looked too closely at the access settings. Grandpa had set it up when I was young, and I'd always assumed it was locked tight. But that night, after what Evan did, assumptions felt dangerous. I clicked through the permissions. And my stomach dropped. Authorized viewers, Patricia Hale. Richard Hale. Authorized request access, Patricia Hale. My mother could initiate transfers. The same way she'd tried to corner me in the hospital. I inhaled sharply and pressed the button. Revoke authorization. A warning popped up. This action may cause conflict with listed guardians. Conflict. As if freedom was an inconvenience. My hand didn't hesitate. Confirm. Access removed. I sat back, heart pounding. It was done. But deep down, I knew something else too. Patricia would notice. And when she did, she wouldn't simply accept it. 2 mornings later, my doorbell rang. Hard. Repeated. Aggressive. I froze in the kitchen, coffee untouched. The bell rang again, followed by pounding. "Serena," my mother's voice snapped. "Open the door." My pulse surged. I moved slowly, still sore, and opened it just enough to see her face. Patricia stood there immaculate as always, but her eyes were wild. You revoked access, she hissed. Yes, I said simply. Her expression twisted. How dare you? How dare I protect myself? My voice trembled slightly. She stepped forward, pushing the door wider. That money is family money. No, I corrected. It's my protection. Grandpa wanted me safe. Her lips curled. Grandpa is dead. The words were meant to cut. But she forgot one thing. Grandpa wasn't dead. My grandfather was. Grandma was still here. And she was sharper than both of them combined. Patricia leaned in, voice low. Evan needs that money. You will restore access today. I stared at her swollen reflection in my hallway mirror. The bruise on my cheek was still yellow-purple, like a stain that wouldn't wash out. He hit me, I whispered. Patricia's eyes flicked to the bruise, then away, irritated. He was provoked. The rage inside me flared. I'm not giving him anything. Patricia's voice turned cold. Then you are choosing to destroy this family. I laughed softly, bitter. What family? For a moment, her face flashed with something like panic. Then she straightened. Fine, she said sharply. If you won't give it willingly, we'll take it legally. The words chilled my blood. Legally? Patricia smiled, a thin, cruel line. Conservatorship, guardianship, whatever it takes. You're clearly unstable. Unstable. There it was. The weapon she'd always kept hidden. I swallowed hard. You wouldn't. Patricia's eyes gleamed. Watch me. She turned and walked away, heels clicking like a countdown. As soon as she left, I locked the door and slid down against it, shaking. My mind raced. Court meant public humiliation, legal control, frozen accounts, Evan getting exactly what he wanted while they painted me as mentally unfit. And then, like a lifeline thrown into dark water, I remembered one person. Grandma Eleanor Hale. My grandmother lived 2 hours away in a quiet lakeside town. We weren't as close as we should have been, mostly because Patricia controlled access, controlled narratives, controlled everything. But Grandma had always seen through her. Always. My hands trembled as I found her number. I pressed call. It rang twice. Then a voice answered, crisp and warm. Serena? My throat tightened instantly. Grandma? A pause. Her tone changed. What's wrong? I tried to speak calmly, but my voice cracked. I need help. Silence, then. Tell me. And so I did. I told her about the graduation dinner. The demand, the refusal, the punch, the hospital, the threats. When I finished, my breathing was uneven. Grandma's voice was very quiet. My God, I whispered, I'm sorry. I didn't want to involve you. Stop, she cut in, sharp as a blade. You should have called sooner. I swallowed. What do I do? Grandma Eleanor exhaled slowly. You do nothing. You rest. And you let me handle the rest. A chill ran through me. Handle? How? Her voice dropped into something calm, almost frightening. I have an attorney. And your mother has forgotten something important. What? Grandma's tone was steel. That trust is not hers. And neither is this family. My heart pounded. Grandma continued. Patricia thinks she can threaten you because she believes she has leverage. I whispered, doesn't she? A pause. Then Eleanor said, Serena, do you know who holds final authority over that trust? My breath caught. No, I do, she replied simply. The words hit like thunder. Grandma went on, your grandfather set it up, yes. But I am the living executor. Patricia has no legal claim. Evan has no legal claim. And if they touch you again, her voice sharpened, they will regret it. Tears burned in my eyes. You're really going to? I'm already doing it, she cut in. Tomorrow morning, my lawyer will file a protective order against unauthorized access attempts. And Serena, yes? Her voice softened just slightly. I'm coming. The next day, everything moved fast. By noon, I received an email notification. Legal notice. Trust access under review. At 2:17 p.m., another one. Authorized viewers removed. Patricia and Richard were erased completely. At 3:05 p.m., additional security clause filed. And then, at 4:22 p.m., my phone exploded with calls. Patricia, Richard, Evan, voicemail after voicemail. I didn't answer. Until Evan sent one text that made my blood run cold. Evan, Grandma is overreacting. Call her off, or things will get ugly. Ugly, as if they hadn't already been. That evening, Grandma arrived. Eleanor Hale stepped out of a black car with a cane in one hand and a leather folder in the other. She looked small, silver-haired, elegant. But her eyes were pure authority. She hugged me carefully. Then she looked straight at my bruise. Her jaw tightened. We're done, she murmured. I swallowed. Done? Grandma turned toward her lawyer, a tall man with calm eyes. Mr. Sandoval, she said, tell my daughter the meeting is scheduled. I blinked. Meeting? Her lawyer nodded. Tomorrow morning. Full family present. My stomach twisted. Family meeting. Grandma's gaze was sharp. Oh yes, she said quietly. Patricia wanted court. Evan wanted money. Her lips curved into something cold. Instead, they're going to meet my lawyer. My pulse thundered. What happens tomorrow? Grandma leaned in, voice like a promise. Tomorrow, Serena, your brother learns what it means to demand what was never his. And for the first time since Evan's fist, I felt something stronger than fear. Anticipation. Because I knew one thing. My family thought they could break me. But they forgot who raised Grandpa. And they had no idea what Grandma was about to do. The next morning felt unreal, like walking into a storm you can already hear but haven't yet felt on your skin. Grandma Eleanor sat at my kitchen table, perfectly composed, sipping tea as if this were an ordinary Tuesday. Her lawyer, Mr. Sandoval, reviewed documents with quiet precision. Noah hovered nearby, tense and protective, his eyes constantly flicking toward the front door like he expected it to explode inward. And honestly, I did too. At exactly 10 a.m., the knock came. Not a polite knock, a demand. Patricia didn't wait for permission. She shoved the door open the moment Noah unlocked it, sweeping inside like she owned the air. Richard followed, stiff and angry. And behind them, Evan. He looked different without the graduation charm. His face was tight with resentment, his eyes sharp and accusing. The bruise on my cheek caught his gaze for half a second. He didn't look guilty. He looked annoyed. It was still visible. Patricia's eyes snapped toward Eleanor. Mother, she said, voice dripping with false respect. What is this? Eleanor didn't stand. She didn't flinch. She simply set her teacup down with a soft click. This, she said calmly, is the moment you stop treating Serena like a bank account. Evan scoffed. Grandma, this is ridiculous. She's overreacting. Eleanor's gaze shifted to him, and the room changed instantly. Sit, she said. The word wasn't loud. It wasn't screamed, but it carried the weight of decades. Evan hesitated. Then, slowly, he sat. Patricia's mouth tightened. We didn't come here to be lectured. We came to fix what Serena broke. I laughed softly, bitter. What I broke? Richard's voice rose. Enough. We are family. We handle this privately. Mr. Sandoval finally spoke, calm and sharp. Assault is not a private matter, Mr. Hale. Silence snapped through the room. Patricia's eyes widened slightly. Assault? Eleanor's voice was ice. Yes. Evan struck Serena in a public restaurant. Evan's face darkened. She provoked me. Eleanor leaned forward. Provoked you to violence? Patricia cut in quickly, waving a hand. He didn't mean it. It was emotional. Serena has always been dramatic. Eleanor's gaze turned deadly. And you, she said softly, have always been cruel. Patricia froze. Richard bristled. Mother, watch your tone. Eleanor's cane tapped once against the floor. No, she said. Her eyes burned into Patricia. You will watch yours. The room went tense, thick with unspoken years. Then Evan leaned forward, impatience flashing. This is wasting time. Grandma, you have to understand, my startup needs funding. Serena has a trust. She said no out of spite. Eleanor blinked slowly. Spite, she repeated. Evan shrugged. She doesn't even need it. She has a job. My stomach twisted. Eleanor's voice remained calm. And you believe that entitles you to $1.5 million? Evan's jaw tightened. It's not entitlement. It's family investment. Mr. Sandoval opened a folder. Then let's speak legally, he said. Patricia stiffened. We don't need lawyers. We need cooperation. Mr. Sandoval ignored her. Evan Hale, he began. Did you file any formal loan request? Any repayment terms? Any contract? Evan scoffed. No. It's family. Mr. Sandoval nodded slightly. So you demanded money with no legal structure. Evan's face flushed. It was a request. I whispered, it was a threat. Richard slammed his hand on the table. Serena, stop twisting. Eleanor's eyes snapped. Richard, she said quietly, do you know what your son did after she refused? Richard hesitated. Patricia's voice rose quickly. She fainted. It was chaotic. Eleanor cut her off. He hit her. Patricia's mouth opened, then closed. Richard's face tightened. Evan's voice sharpened. It wasn't that hard. The words hung in the air like poison. Noah inhaled sharply, fists clenching. Eleanor's face didn't change, but something in her eyes went colder than winter. Mr. Sandoval spoke again. Because of that incident, Ms. Hale has the right to press charges. Additionally, Patricia snapped, don't you dare threaten us. Mr. Sandoval's gaze was calm. This is not a threat. It is consequence. Eleanor leaned back. And that brings us, she said softly, to my move. Patricia's eyes narrowed. Your move? Eleanor gestured toward the folder in Mr. Sandoval's hands. He slid out a document. This, he said, is a revised trust directive filed yesterday. Evan frowned. What does that mean? Mr. Sandoval looked directly at him. It means your access is 0. Patricia stiffened. We never had access. Mr. Sandoval raised a hand. It also means, he continued, that any attempt by you, Patricia Hale, or anyone acting on your behalf, to interfere with Serena's trust will trigger an immediate legal forfeiture clause. Richard blinked. Forfeiture? Eleanor's voice was calm. Yes. Evan laughed nervously. That's dramatic. Eleanor's eyes locked onto him. No, she said. It's final. Patricia's voice shook slightly. You can't do that. Eleanor tilted her head. Oh, I can. Then she reached into her own folder and pulled out one final paper. A will. Mr. Sandoval stood, voice clear. Eleanor Hale has also amended her estate. Patricia's face went pale. Evan's smile faltered. Richard stiffened. Mr. Sandoval continued. As of yesterday, Evan Hale is no longer a beneficiary of Eleanor Hale's inheritance. The world stopped. Evan's mouth fell open. What? Patricia's voice cracked. Mother. Eleanor didn't blink. And, Mr. Sandoval added, Patricia Hale is no longer a beneficiary either. Patricia staggered back like she'd been slapped. No, that's impossible. Richard turned sharply. Eleanor, what are you doing? Eleanor's voice was soft. What I should have done years ago. Evan surged to his feet, panic flashing. Grandma, you can't punish me because Serena is sensitive. Eleanor's gaze was steel. I'm not punishing you because she is sensitive. Her voice sharpened. I'm punishing you because you are violent. Evan's breath hitched. Patricia whispered, trembling, you're destroying us. Eleanor leaned forward, eyes burning. You destroyed yourselves the moment you saw Serena's protection, and mistook it for your opportunity. Silence. Deep, brutal silence. Richard's voice was hoarse. What about me? Eleanor's gaze shifted. You, she said quietly, stood there while your son struck your daughter. Richard flinched. You chose comfort over courage. His jaw clenched, but he had no defense. Patricia's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't remorse. They were desperation. Mother, she whispered, please, this money. Eleanor's face didn't soften. It was never yours. Evan's voice cracked, panic rising. Serena, call her off. Please, I need that money. I stared at him. At the brother who had always taken. At the family who had always demanded. My cheek still throbbed, and for the first time, I felt nothing but clarity. I whispered, you needed respect more. Evan's lips trembled. I can't, my startup. Eleanor interrupted, final as a gavel. Then build it without stealing. Mr. Sandoval closed the folder. One more thing, he said calmly. Patricia blinked through tears. What? He looked directly at Evan. Charges will be filed if Ms. Hale chooses. And a restraining order is prepared. Evan's face went white. Noah stepped forward slightly, voice low. Touch her again, and you won't get a warning. The room felt like it was collapsing inward. Patricia sank into a chair, shaking. Richard stood frozen. Evan's eyes darted wildly, the first real fear I'd ever seen in him. He wasn't the golden child anymore. He was just a man who had finally met consequence. Eleanor stood slowly, cane steady. This meeting is over. Patricia whispered, broken, we're family. Eleanor's voice was quiet. Family doesn't demand. Family doesn't strike. Family doesn't abandon. Her eyes turned to me. Serena, come. Noah helped me stand carefully. We walked toward the door. Behind us, Evan's voice cracked in desperation. Serena, I paused for one breath. Not because I was weak. Because closure matters. I turned slightly. You demanded $1.5 million, I said softly. His eyes filled with panic. And my refusal, I continued, shattered everything. I looked at my mother. At my father. At my brother. Then I finished, voice calm as truth. No, you shattered it yourselves. And I walked out. Outside, sunlight hit my face, warm and steady. My bruises would heal. My concussion would fade. But something else had already healed in that room. The part of me that believed love meant surrender. Grandma Eleanor's one move didn't just protect my trust fund. It protected my life. And Evan would spend the rest of his trying to build something without ever being able to steal from me again.